the Gen Z need to find a way to get to the center of the board, and they need to find a way of getting to the center of the board quickly. Simply saying that you're leaderless, etc., that can only carry you so far, right? In terms of like civic awareness and playing a role to fight and advocate for your own rights. But for Gen Zs to solve this problem and own it, they need to get to the center of the board. I'll finish by saying this really quickly. They don't want to make the mistake that Mau Mau made, where they fought the colonial enterprise from the outside, won that battle, but failed to get to the center, and neo-colonial actors took ownership of government.
What's happening with Gen Z, this is what I'm going to say, because we are all looking at this from things have been happening so fast. They've been able to achieve within a very short time what so many people who have those organizations and all those
have not been able
were not able to achieve.
100.
So me, I'm still I'm not part of that school that they have to create a leader, create a party, you
cannot forever be leaderless or whatever.
I'm
not buying that.
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all, because we are all learning. We are all learning. These things are happening.
I just wanted to make a couple observations and regarding the discussion as it's evolving. So first thing I wanted to point out, this is just a hunch. So I'm of the opinion currently that Baba is actually trying to make a graceful exit from the political scene. So a couple months ago he submitted his candidacy for the AU post, and he's been working towards that kind of consistently. And by all estimates right now, he's definitely one of the top contenders, not just because of his democratic credentials, but also the fact that he has done a lot to campaign, and he has the support of his government. I am one of those people who's of the opinion that we can have our differences when we are at home as Kenyans, but then once we go to the international stage, we are all Kenyans. So I don't see any discordance with the people and the government of Kenya supporting one of their own to get a continental seat. People will beg to differ on that, I know, but I think that's perfectly okay. And then secondly, if you just observe, for instance, when the CS nominations were made, Joho, Oparanya, who are ODM, part of ODM leadership, were co-opted into government. So the more popular opinion says that they went there on the expressed endorsement of the president of the former prime minister. A more plausible explanation to me is that this guy has actually made those decisions independently, right? I think what is already happening that Kenyans are not observing is that there's already political realignment for 2027. Ruto realizes that he has fallen out with the Mount Kenya, which is a populous region, 20% of our vote, and he's realigning coast, western Kakamega, or Western Kenya. He already has Mudavadi, he already has Wetangula, who represent the Bukusa and the Maragoli. Now in Kakamega, Oparanya I believe is a Kabra, which are the three most populous Luya sub-tribes. And then in Coast Province, he's getting in place Joho, and then also quoting himself to Luo Nyanza. So what is essentially happening is that there's already political realignment for 2027, and I don't think Kenyans have observed or noticed that. So the more plausible explanation to me is that Baba knows he's old. It's like he's about the same age as Biden. Maybe I think they are age mates, 80, 81. And he's realized like his political clock has kind of run out. I don't think he has control of Joho and the lot. I really don't believe he has, because What subsequently happened was Edwin Sifuna came out and announced that these people had tendered their resignations from ODM. So they don't see a future politically as members of the party. And you know how fluid Kenyan politics can be. So it comes off as a defense of Baba's position, but I genuinely think that Baba is trying to exit the political stage in a way that is graceful. But then the public won't let him, right? Which is ironic, because they are criticizing him right, left, and center for his silence or alleged cooperation with the Ruto regime,
betrayal.
I personally, betrayal and all these other words that people are throwing out there. But I personally genuinely believe that he's trying to make an exit, because more likely than not, he's not going to be, able to run in 2027 because of his advanced age.
Okay.
And especially, when you see someone like Biden, who is like a world leader, a Democrat, come out and like exit the stage. I mean, like, people are asking the same question, like if Biden can resign, or he can exit the stage and give the younger generation a chance, who is Baba?
Okay.
So I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Those are the undercurrents. Obviously, politically, other things are said, but I think those are really the core undercurrents that are going on. I'll take it back to you.
Okay, Dr. Wangusi, I'm just gonna, try to look at this from a three-dimensional perspective. You've been a Baba supporter, I've been a Baba supporter. So I'm trying to look at this from a three-dimensional perspective and an honest perspective, because that's what you're saying is the theory that the party has dished out for people to say because of the backlash that happened. But we know this move does not happen in coordination without Baba's blessing. Whether he was influenced or not, but we know this move of these four members of ODM being appointed to the cabinet, it doesn't happen without Baba's blessing. You know it, I know it, and anyone who's been within the ODM party knows it. So let's for one be honest, because our country is at a crossroads.
And I agree.
Let's for once be honest, because our country is at a crossroads. And I know, parties always do this, because I understand how parties work. But this is a very critical moment at which Kenya is, and that's why I feel like Sifuna is between a rock and a hard place. There were two schools of thought in ODM. There are those who are saying we should let Ruto fall, we should not go sanitize him. And then there are these beneficiaries, and the people who are supporting the beneficiaries, they are like, okay, this is an opportunity that has presented itself. We're never going to get another opportunity. And of course, this is a political decision. And right now, we're talking in the moment. We don't know how we're going to be looking at this moment now when we move closer to 2027. And I agree with you, Nathan, that a lot of these parties are trying to make realignment for 2027. But what I know for sure, with how early this handshake came, there will be another major realignment. This is way too early. There's no way this marriage has survived for 3 years. So this right here.
Remember,
this was a card. Mika Goja Kidogo. This was a card that was pulled out a bit too early, because Ruto was seeing his government going down. So I think there's going to be another realignment. Mika, real quick to you, then we're going to go back to Dr. Nathan.
Remember there are some people over here who are feeling misaligned by this marriage right now, right? They're the Jubilee people who made deals earlier on. There are people who from this other smaller Kenya Kwanza, Azimio coalition that made deals earlier, and then kuna Jamaa Murima and his crew who are feeling some type of way about what is happening here. So you're right. 2027, there's going to be another play that's going to happen. It's interesting times, as I was saying. It's a times whereby things are setting themselves up. It looks like every month there's going to be a political realignment in Kenya by different players and different how things are going. I'm actually just waiting to see Now, what most people don't understand, there are two fights that are going on. There's a fight whereby the citizenry, which is led by the Gen Zs, are fighting for their rights. And then there's a political survival fight that is happening within the political elites in Kenya. And these two fights, unfortunately, are clashing over each other, with one side taking advantage of the other. It is going to be a point of survival of which side is going to come out on top. And I think the citizenry will be able to pick up the remnants of what the political fights will be and clean house with it. Because right now, hakuna opposition, everybody is fighting for the little cake that government has, while most of the government policies is being taken down. Remember when the courts say all these bills are illegal, all these bills come from one place, Parliament.
Okay, sawa sawa. So let's go back to Dr. Wangusi. Wrap it up for us as we continue. Dr. Wangusi.
Yeah. So the other part of this discussion that I have been thinking about a lot. Interestingly, I was teaching my 5-year-old how to play chess. So obviously, chess is a game of strategy. But one of the sort of the core tenets of playing chess is that you protect the king, number one, but you also dominate the center, right? Now, in our Kenyan case, the center of this discussion, or the center of this conflict, and this what should be this revolution, the heart of this discussion is around governance and abuse of power by our political class. What the Gen Z movement is doing, or what the Gen Z movement has done, is that they've surrounded the political class and put pressure. What they are not doing is that they're not going to the core. They're not attacking at the center, as you were just saying. Because if they don't do that quickly, and this needs to happen almost immediately, they need to quickly move into the center of this political ecosystem and break it from the center. That's what Baba did very well, as you were describing earlier, Ali. He got into government and he split it right down the middle. Gen Zs are saying that they are powerless, they're leaderless, tribeless, etc. But what that also does is that it makes them powerless against the powers that be, because they're the ones who still control the levers of power. One of the suggestions that is sort of out in the jury now is, one of the discussions that is now beginning to happen is telling the Gen Zs, how do you get into the center of power and how do you own the political narrative? One of the ways you do that is either you wait and run for office, or you start to displace political actors. But another effective way, which has already even been suggested, unfortunately it has been suggested by Baba, which makes it an unpopular topic to talk about, and obviously very partisan, but it's going to the core of the constitution. People say this constitution we have is good, but you remember it's a bastardized version of the even better version that we had at Bomas. If Gen Zs were to take ownership of that constitution, the Bomas constitution, and drive it to the heart of government through a referendum, I personally think that would be a game changer, because it will address the issue of bad governance in terms of like reducing the size of government, reducing the powers of the president, controlling our wage bill. Those three things had already been resolved in our Bomas draft of the constitution. And I know you know my opinion on this because we've talked about it.
Yes.
But the Gen Z need to find a way to get to the center of the board, and they need to find a way of getting to the center of the board quickly. Simply saying that you're leaderless, etc., that can only carry you so far, right? In terms of like civic awareness and playing a role to fight and advocate for your own rights. But for Gen Zs to solve this problem and own it, they need to get to the center of the board. I'll finish by saying this really quickly. They don't want to make the mistake that Mau Mau made, where they fought the colonial enterprise from the outside, won that battle, but failed to get to the center, and neo-colonial actors took ownership of government to their detriment. So this needs to really, like, this revolution needs to now go to the heart of the matter, which is governance. And many successful revolutions, whether you're talking about the Cuban Revolution, the American Revolution, have always gone towards changing fundamentally the political system. And I think currently, there may be other proposals out there, but I think the BOMAS process should be a very effective way of doing that. I'll hand it back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Wangusi. You know, like some very salient points coming there from Dr. Nathan Wangusi. He was on the show a couple of weeks ago. You know, like a few points I'm in alignment with Dr. Wangusi. A few of them I disagree with what's happening with Gen Z. You know, like this is what I'm gonna say, because we are all looking at this from things have been happening so fast. They've been able to achieve within a very short time what so many people who have those organizations and all those
have not been able
were
to
not able to achieve.
100.
So me, I'm still I'm not part of that school that they have to create a leader, create a party, you know,
you cannot forever be leaderless or whatever.
Yeah, you know,
yes.
like
I'm not buying that.
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all, because we are all learning. We are all learning. These things are happening, and we're already seeing, you know, like processes moving. A whole cabinet was dissolved. Yes, some people were brought back, but we can't dismiss the effectiveness of what they did. And I think they might even become more effective, because what the government has done is that it has reduced the effectiveness in coming together in one place in very big numbers, but they've not been able to tame the ability to talk in these spaces, to meet. And I think, to me personally, I think those smaller spaces, you know, those ones by county, they're way more effective, and they're way more potent for the government.
When you have people joining in, like now, for example, I think the other day we were listening to a space that was created by Eric Latif.
Yes.
And you shared. And it was about vetting. And then you have constitutional lawyers coming in. Those are the spaces that I think in the long term, they are atomic in nature, but atomic habits.
Because those spaces, what they're doing slowly is that they're giving people guidance. Slowly by slowly. Now, most of these Gen Zs know that it's very important to have an ID. They all know that. Now there's no Gen Z. Any Gen Z who doesn't have an ID right now is feeling agitated. They're like, when are they going to start reissuing the IDs? I'm going to get one.
Yes.
You know, like this time, if we have a by-election, any kind of election, there will be not many motivations needed to push these people to go and vote. So this kind of like spontaneous movement is building a different kind of young person in Kenya that we had not seen before, because typically younger people, it was like hizi mambo za kura na nini, but now they're the ones who are sensitizing now older people to actually be politically active.
I